Luciano Oliveira, Oliveira Lawyers. Today is Sunday, December 14th, 3:32 Rio de Janeiro time. We are starting one more live stream. And as usual, if you're here with us, you have a priority to suggest topics of your interest to be discussed live. I'm going to also address questions you may have. Just remember, I cannot really discuss in details or give you specific instructions because the Brazilian Bar Association precludes us from providing legal advice in a live stream or to give you like free advisory without the context of a paid consultation. Okay, so I can discuss like in general terms. I can certainly talk about any topic. I just have some limits to how far I can go in terms of addressing your specifics. I hope that's fine with you. Let's get started. Let's see if we have any entries in our chat window. It doesn't look like, so maybe we could take a look at news in Brazil. Let's see what's going on. All right, you can probably see the main headline is about a congresswoman. She has renounced. She has renounced to the Congress after the Brazilian Supreme Court determined that she should lose. She should lose her seat, and the reason for that it was bifold. One reason was because it looks like there was an altercation between this lady and a man. It was like prior to an election date, and she took a gun and ran after this man, right? And it was determined that the gun, it looks like it was not registered. The second reason, it looks like she hired, and it's a kind of crazy story, right? Like she hired a hacker to enter like a fake warrant against Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, and the court order was to arrest, right? It looks more like a prank, but certainly, by invading the systems of the respective authority, like there was a major crime from the Brazilian perspective, and that was the second reason why she ended up, losing her seat at the Congress. So that's the main headline for today, and this has been in the news for a while. Another reason why this is like a major topic, it is because she's from the right side of the aisle, and Justice Alexandre de Moraes has consistently sided with the left parties in Brazil. Let's see what else we have. We have this horrible news, right? Like there was a terrorist attack in Australia. It looks like it was a Jewish event. And so far, there is news of 12 people dead. And I feel really sorry. And hopefully they are going to find out what happened and do something about it, hopefully. All right, let me see if there is anything else. Okay, there is also, the talk about either Netflix or Paramount acquiring Warner Bros. And as typical, like in Brazil, we are always watching news about what's going on in the United States. All right, so it looks like these are the main headlines today. Let's take a look at our partner real estate agency, Remax Nomad States, based in Rio de Janeiro, but providing services across the country. The idea here is that they follow as much as possible the same standards we have here at the firm. If you're interested, there you have their contact information. You can contact them. You can use their services in combination with ours, or you can use it independently. and we have many clients in either way, like either working with us and Remax Nomad States or just work with Remax Nomad States. All types of clients using this agency so far. A very successful partnership, I would say. All right, let's take a look. We have some entries already. General Principal, boa tarde, Mr. Oliveira. Boa tarde, General. Good to see you around. Matthew Watson sent money to Portugal. What benefits will that get me in Brazil and America with your office? Matthew, if you could elaborate more, what benefits will that get me in Brazil and America with your office? Matthew Watson sent money to Portugal. So let me see if I understand, Matthew. Are you securing residency in Portugal? Is that the case? Are you pursuing the D7, the passive income, or are you pursuing the digital nomad? Let me understand exactly what you're getting in Portugal, and that could help me understand what you're trying to accomplish. Matt Gaines, Feliz Domingo, Dr. Oliveira. Feliz Domingo. Good to see you here, Matt. I hope you and Adrian are just fine. STJ, boa tarde, everyone. Boa tarde, STJ. Welcome on board. Ronnie Dio, what are your thoughts about the U.S. trying to pass a law to stop dual citizenship? Ronnie, that's a good question. And typically it's a delicate question for us immigration attorneys to address, right? And I try to have a balanced view of immigration matters, right? Like, I mean, in an ideal world, everybody could go anywhere without barriers. But we know that this is not possible, right? This is not possible. We need something organized, and I think that this idea, of passing a law to stop dual citizenship, right? And is it the dual citizenship or is the end of birth right to citizenship? Because the most prominent one, Ronnie, is the idea that whoever is born in the United States from parents who are not legal in the country or who are not legally in the country or who are not residents, they would not acquire citizenship, right? So this is the most discussed topic so far. There is also a second one, meaning that if you are a U.S. citizen, guess what? You cannot acquire a second one, right? And the way I see those bills or those attempts, right? Like the first one is actually more driven by the federal administration, by the White House. The second one, it looks like it has some broader support from Congress as well. And for both cases, I think the idea is that there is a need. There is a need for balance. There is a need for an immigration process that has a reasonable level of organization that is functional, right? So prior to President Donald Trump's administration, under President Joe Biden, things were just like, absolutely out of control, right? Out of control. There was a huge number of people coming across the border without pretty much any control whatsoever. And this has probably been one of the main reasons why President Donald Trump, maybe not ideal, right, was elected, but potentially as a pushback against this absolutely a crazy state of things when it comes to immigration. So maybe what we see right now in terms of, the end of birthright to citizenship and the dual citizenship is more like a pushback. I personally think that people should be entitled to multiple citizenships. And very interesting to share or to note is that Brazil, up to 2023, in theory, would not allow you to have dual citizenship, right? So Brazil, it was operating under this concept. Listen, if you are Brazilian and you acquire a second citizenship, you should lose your Brazilian citizenship, right? And even more interesting is probably hundreds of thousands of Brazilians, maybe some of them listening to us as we speak right now, they did acquire U.S. citizenship during the course of this kind of prohibition, and Brazil would not actually take action in terms of removing the Brazilian citizenship unless it was a politically motivated action, right? And there was one that was very major, that was advertised, that was object of reporting and news. It was, I believe, right, 98% certainty, a former spouse of President Bolsonaro, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was living in the Netherlands, right? And the political opponents, they found out about this lady acquiring citizenship in Europe, and then guess what? They went after her and they removed her Brazilian citizenship, right? But again, at the same time, there was, potentially hundreds of thousands of Brazilians acquiring U.S. citizenship, and naturally, nobody would go to the Brazilian government and say, well, guess what? I acquired U.S. citizenship. They would just keep quiet and kind of using both citizenships simultaneously. But then in 2023, there was an amendment to the Brazilian Constitution to allow multiple citizenship. So you see, just by this example alone, you see that it's not like such a crazy idea of having a single citizenship, as well allowing multiple citizenships. So just like Brazil, in a short span of time, has allowed both interpretations, right? Up to 2023, no, you can only have one. After 2023, I don't care if you have multiple, right? So in the United States, I understand it's also a matter of taxation, because if you are a U.S. citizen, it does not matter if you're living in Europe, if you're living in Brazil, if you're living in another planet, if you will, you still need to file taxes in the United States. You never turn off the switch, right? So that's one of the considerations. Brazil, on the other hand, and Portugal, as far as I know, yes, you can turn off the switch as long as you're no longer residing in either country. You can turn off the taxation switch, and those countries, they are going to leave you alone, but not the United States, right? So, maybe tax considerations as well. But interesting question for sure. All right. Matthew, yes, I'm trying to pursue my citizenship in Portugal and to receive help with real estate. Absolutely, Matthew. Yeah, so citizenship in Portugal, you could acquire, and you're talking about real estate, right? So just a heads up, Matthew, up to 2023, we just spoke about Brazil in 2023, it was the same year with Portugal. That's when the Portuguese golden visa ended the single real estate track. So up to 2023, you could buy basically, a nice piece of property in Portugal, and then you could apply for the golden visa. After 2023, there was a series of protests against the golden visa because it was making the market way more expensive for Portuguese citizens. So the Portuguese golden visa is still in place, but now you can no longer acquire individual properties, right? Very interesting to note there are funds that you can invest in to secure the Portugal golden visa, and some of them they are going to even invest in real estate, but it's not going to be typically it's not going to be like in individual properties. It's going to be more in a type of enterprise perspective, right? So let's say maybe in Algarve, you're going to have a brand new, 5-star hotel, and this fund is going to be, bringing resources to develop that specific project. And in this case, yes, you could invest and secure the golden visa. Okay, citizenship is going to come down the line, and typically, 5 years for the golden visa. It was the same thing for the D7, the so-called passive visa, the D8, the digital nomad. But we have like a new bill that is pushing, from 5 years to 7, 8, or 10 years. Okay, the first decision was 10 years, and then this bill was not approved. It was actually struck down by the Portuguese Constitutional Court, and now we are, just waiting to see what the final number is going to be. We were thinking about 7 years as a potential new number of years that you must be under one of those residencies to acquire the citizenship. In Brazil, once you have the Portuguese citizenship, there is the so-called there are actually 2 tracks for you to secure residency in Brazil. There is the CPLP. The CPLP is typically a track available for citizens from Portuguese-speaking countries, so not only Portugal, but other Portuguese-speaking countries as well. Okay, there is also a specific track for Portuguese citizens, and those 2 tracks they are going to give you access to residency right away, meaning that the only reason that you need to present to secure residency in Brazil is going to be your nationality as a Portuguese citizen. And then there is also a provision in the Brazilian Constitution saying that after 1 year of residency in Brazil, you could petition for citizenship as well, right? Like now, this provision is not really enforced by the Brazilian immigration system. So every now and then, what we're gonna see is like people filing, constitutional-oriented lawsuits to secure citizenship just after 1 year of residency in Brazil. All right, General Principal, Mr. Oliveira, CNN is one of the networks involved in that Warner Bros. News. Does CNN Brazil get a lot of viewership compared to other news sources? Interesting question, General, and not really, right? Like CNN Brazil is not nearly as famous as CNN is in the United States, right? Like, I mean, in Brazil, we are still pretty attached to Globo, right? Like Rede Globo is, the most watched news channel in Brazil, and it is almost like, something cultural, right? Like whenever we're talking about, like the news channels, people are going to default their minds on Rede Globo, right? But yes, I mean, nowadays, I think, most people would recognize CNN Brazil by name, but it's far from being a household name like CNN is in the United States. All right, and we have other, channels that are typical to the United States, like, coming to Brazil as you speak. There is one that was actually, like a major, it was actually recognized as a household name which was not a news channel, but a channel. It was like MTV, but MTV has been, like shutting down their operations across the globe, and they did shut down in Brazil, like, MTV for anyone from my age, like whoever it was, like in the 80s, 90s, right? Like watching, music, like, music clips on MTV, I guess, got sad with the news that MTV is no longer operating, right, in Brazil. All right. Keitwell. Hey, Keith. Good to see you over here. Matthew. Yes, I'm trying to pursue my citizenship. Yes, we addressed that, Matthew. Stay with us. Let us know more about your plans. Ronnie Dio. It is a law being presented but not passed yet that you must choose which country you will keep citizenship if you have a dual citizenship. Yes, Ronnie. Yep, that's what I thought. Very interesting. I think, the United States is such a diverse country. Again, I understand where this is coming from, but I don't think a bill like this would ever fly, right? Like, I mean, most people, I'm not sure if most people, right? But I would say a substantially share of U.S. citizens would have dual citizenship, and they would not support such a bill. But that's again a pushback against let's say the whole immigration mess that was. I'm not sure if there was, but maybe is still present in the United States, right? Like, I mean, the system. And this is a criticism coming from both sides of the aisle, of the political aisle, right? Like, I mean, immigration in the U.S. Was and probably is still in need of some serious, modernization, right? And for the country that is without a doubt the number one destination for immigrants, like anywhere. You do need to have a very robust immigration framework that is capable of dealing with the challenges we have nowadays. Right now, the challenges are many, and so it's also understandable. It's taking a while for the United States to find the right balance, I would say. All right. Marisa Navas, boa tarde, Dr. Luciano. Estamos muito felizes com suas lives. Boa tarde, Marisa. Bom vê-los aqui. I love the Portugal flag on your entry and glad to have you and Ricardo here with us live. Rani Dio, if I received Brazilian citizenship, I would give up US. My only problem being I would lose my social security payments. Yes, Ronnie, that would be terrible, right? Like, I mean, assuming, to be entitled to the social security benefits, you probably worked a lot, right? Like, you probably worked throughout your professional life, and yes, to give up on that, I think it would be, something very difficult for you indeed. All right. Matt Gain is to expand on Ronnie's post. Does Brazil have a social security agreement, totalization agreement with the U.S.? Matt, that's an interesting question. Social security is not really one of my specialties, right? We have a colleague of ours, typically when we have a more complex social security stuff, we send to this colleague of ours. But at least from a strategy perspective, I know from this colleague of mine, right, and other people who end up living like in those two countries, that they are not gonna choose to have something like a totalization or a single type of retirement benefit. They are gonna actually prefer to keep those two universes segregate, so they are going to receive two sources of retirement income, one from the United States, another one from Brazil, right? So that's what I see going on. Instead of, I know that there is a possibility through some agreements between Brazil and other countries that instead of, having to work or to apply for retirement in both countries, you would kind of take advantage of those two systems in an interconnected way to have a single source of retirement. But as far as I remember, at least whenever you consider Brazil and the United States, a better strategy is going to be dealing with those two countries separate, right? And then you may ask, all right, but how do you do that? Let's say if you are living in the U.S., which is typically the case for many Brazilians, right? In this case, Brazilians are going to be typically paying Social Security to Brazil, even though they are not working. And for Brazil, as long as you're collecting the Social Security payments, Brazil doesn't really care if you're working or not, right? Like, so for many Brazilians, they are in the U.S., they are contributing to the Social Security in the United States through work, salary retentions and whatnots. And in Brazil, they're basically paying an accountant. So the accountant is going to be paying like every month. They're paying, and it's typically a minimum amount, I don't know, less than $100. So this accountant goes to the Brazilian Social Security and they kind of file as if they were working by themselves, individually, like, self-employed people, right? And again, this is not like, advisory for sure. I'm just sharing about a typical strategy that we see going on out there. All right, Matthew says, I am an American citizen and would like to own hotels that start in Portugal and end in Brazil and America, not too far from my place of birth. Would that be an option? Yes, Moses, there is, like whenever you talk about your own business, right? For the Golden Visa does not allow your own business, right? Like the Golden Visa is very specific. For the Golden Visa, for the Portuguese Golden Visa, the only option is to either invest in an investment fund, a pre-existing investment fund, so you cannot create your own in theory. And the second option is for you to basically donate your money, all right? So 500,000 euros if you're investing in a fund, and if you're donating, if you're gifting, right? If you're gifting, let's say, a Portuguese museum or a Portuguese orchestra, like, there was a client of ours addressing orchestras, that's going to be 250,000 euros, right? Now, a really nice option if you are an entrepreneur is going to be the Portuguese D2. The D2 is known as the entrepreneur visa, and if you're serious about business, absolutely you can secure the residency, and through the residency you could secure citizenship. And then through the citizenship, you could also expand your footprint in Brazil as well. Very common for Portuguese people from the hospitality business to invest in Ceará, the state of Ceará, Fortaleza. As some of you may know, like I stay a lot of my time in Fortaleza, Ceará, actually the city of Beberibe. Morro Branco or White Sands, that would be a close translation. And in Morro Branco or White Sands, I do know a few Portuguese gentlemen who have invested both in Portugal and in Ceará in hospitality projects, right? So very interesting combination. Ceará is pretty close to Europe, right? Like when you look at the Brazilian map, you're going to understand why Europeans, they do love Ceará, right? Like they love Ceará because Ceará is closer is closer to Europe, is actually cheaper, and you can get a lot for less money than you would need to invest if you are trying to reach, like São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro, for instance. All right, let's see what else we have. All right, Flying Prince, today your video audio is freezing every couple of seconds, sir. Not sure if anyone else is experiencing the same. Thank you for the heads up, Flying Prince. Yes, if you're here live with us, let me know if you're experiencing this issue of freezing every couple of seconds, right? Like, I see here, I can even share, so you guys can see what I see. Right, like here on YouTube Studio, it shows that the connection is excellent, right? So I don't know if other members of our audience are experiencing the issue, but yes, let me know. I don't want you guys to experience any issue, so let me know. All right, we have Activitian, right? Let me know how to pronounce your name. I am from Luxembourg, retiring in July and plan to alternate 6 months in Brazil and 6 months abroad. What is the best approach with Brazilian authorities? Luxembourg, right? So let me show you. I'm gonna show you how you guys can do, right? This is not legal advice. That's basic immigration stuff, but I want to walk you through. So what you're going to do, you're going to go to Google, and then you're going to do Brasil Quadro Geral de Vistos. We're going to see how they call this thing, like in English, so you can also search in English. All right, this is going to be the link. All right, so this is what you're gonna type to find this resource. You're gonna type entry visas to Brazil. All right, just go to Google. If this is important information to you, take note so you can come again to this public resource, and understand how people calculate how much time they can stay in Brazil, right? And so the country mentioned was Luxembourg. Luxembourg, all right. So you see here, number 4 with an asterisk. We're gonna go back to the intro page. Number 4 means visa exemption, right? So this person doesn't need a visa. This means this person could, as of tomorrow, just go and buy a ticket to Brazil, take an airplane, and come to Brazil without a visa. That's what number 4 says. That's the main upside for Luxembourg, but now there is a major downside. The major downside, let's go back again so you guys can understand the dynamic. Luxembourg, right? Number 4, and then there is the asterisk. So number 4 is the upside. The big downside is the asterisk, right? Let's go back to the asterisk. Asterisk, maximum stay of 90 days every 180. This means that this person, once in Brazil, they cannot extend their stay. All right? So for the United States, it's going to be exactly the inverse. Like for a U.S. citizen, they are not going to be able to come under a waiver as of today. As of today, a U.S. citizen needs a visa to enter Brazil. Now, on the other hand, the U.S. citizen has a possibility of applying for an extension, okay? And just remember, the extension is never guaranteed, but most likely than not, you could secure an extension, meaning that you stay in Brazil for up to 90 days, and before, not after, before your 90 days expire, you apply for an extension, and then in theory, you can stay for 180 days in a given immigration year, right? Now, however, for Luxembourg, which is kind of typical for Europe, for European countries, this person would not need a visa to enter Brazil. On the other side, they cannot apply for an extension, okay? And so that's what you see over here, maximum stay of 90 days every 180 days, right? And just to show you how this works, if we take a look at the United States, you're going to see number 1 and no asterisk, as far as I remember, right? Yes, United States number 1 and no asterisk. So if we go back to the intro table, number 1, just like I said, visa required and no asterisk, all right? So this rule of maximum of 90 days every 180, it does not apply, meaning that the person can get 90 days, and once in Brazil, this person could apply for an additional 90, all right? So I hope that was helpful. All right, and now, let's explain more, right? Because the question was not if I can stay or not. The question is, what could be my strategy, right? What could be my strategy? So your strategy, if you want to stay like 6 months in Brazil, it could be through something like retirement. So I don't know if you are entitled to retirement. I like the retirement track a lot. Because you could keep renewing on a 2-year basis, okay? Meaning you get 2 years, and once these 2 years are about to end, you would make sure to renew on a temporary basis, right? And why do I say renew on a temporary basis? Because if you renew on a permanent basis, then you're going to trigger taxation in Brazil. And this is not typically desirable, even though we had clients in the past saying that they didn't want to live in Brazil, but they didn't want to tax. They did want to become a tax resident in Brazil, because in their countries of residency they would pay much more taxes than in Brazil, right? But let's say if you don't want to mess with taxes in Brazil, as long as you don't become a permanent resident, and as long as you don't exceed 183 days in any given 12-month period of time, then you don't become tax resident, okay? So I think, the retirement visa would be pretty neat for that route, or nowadays there is also, if you don't qualify for the retirement, there is the investment in real estate. It will get you 4 years of residency. Again, if you don't exceed the 183 days, and if you don't convert the 4-year residency into a permanent one, in theory, you wouldn't trigger tax residency as well. So investment in real estate, another very interesting route. And the third one, it could be the digital nomad. The digital nomad, I don't like it much because you will need to renew on a yearly basis. You need to do filings with the Brazilian immigration. Typically, it's not really a process that immigrants themselves can do it. So they need to spend the money to do it. So, superior routes, retirement if you qualify. If you don't qualify, second best route could be investment in real estate. All right. Activity says connection is excellent here. Thank you for confirming. Justice League. Hello there. Oh, Justice League, how you doing? Let us know if you can see us okay, right? I want to know if the video, if the audio is good. And so far, it looks like it is. Flying Prince, I'm a resident in Dubai, waiting for my CPF number to get issued. Then I am considering hiring your services for setting up 2 companies in Brazil. and shipping some machines equipment ahead of my arrival. Arrive flying. I recommend you to schedule a consultation with us so we can understand your business background and let you know if Brazil is a good match. I'm not sure if you've been here doing one of those live streams, Flying Prince, in which we discuss Brazil. Brazil, is typically in business terms either a hit or a miss, right? We have a lot of, people from abroad succeeding here in Brazil, but unfortunately, there is an even higher number of people who are crashing and burning. So one benefit you get from us, Flying Prince, is that we don't try to sell you Brazil. We try to do our job, which is helping you get what you're looking for. And if when we have this consultation, if we feel that either your business model or your experience is not a good match, typically we're not gonna help you, okay? But we're not gonna help you open the business, right? We're gonna be helping you by saying, listen, you should not open the business. But listen, if you are from a specific industry, if you have experience, particularly if you are in a country other than the United States or the United Kingdom, typically there is a very good chance you could succeed in Brazil as well, right? So I don't want to, sound pessimist. I just want to give you a heads up that we are not just here like opening companies just because people ask us to do so. We are here to open companies when we feel confident that this is going to be to your advantage. I hope that makes sense, Flying Prince. All right, let's see what else we have over here. All right, let's take a look at our backlog. Okay, pre-construction. I'm not sure if we addressed that one in the prior stream, but the question is like how safe it is to buy apartments in pre-construction, right? Like very often people are gonna call off-plan apartments, meaning there is no apartment, there is just a plan, and you're gonna buy off the plan, right? So no apartment, there is a project, and you're gonna buy ahead of time. And for cities, they typically fall in love real quick with off-plan properties because it works like this. Like they're visiting, I don't know, Rio de Janeiro, Florianopolis, Floripa, São Paulo, whatever, and they are gonna be walking around, and eventually they see a pretty fancy, a beautiful sales stand, like emulating how an apartment is going to look like. And that's typically by the ground floor. That's on the ground floor. Like, let's say if you are walking around in São Paulo, Avenida Paulista, or let's say if you are walking in Recreio, Rio de Janeiro, or Barra da Tijuca, you're gonna see like balloons, and you're gonna see a lot of things calling your attention. And once you go over there, like realtors at the spot, they are gonna bring you inside, and you're gonna see an amazing decorated unit, and they're going to say, listen, this thing can be yours by just paying this tiny amount of money per month, right? And then naturally because of the currency discrepancy, right? Like, if you're coming from the United States, Europe, or another country with a strong currency, the deal is going to sound pretty good. So that's typically how people get interested in off-plan properties, right? Now, going back to the safety, right? Like, in my opinion, whenever you're dealing with a developer, you never really has a guarantee that they are gonna deliver the unity, right? What you can do is to, of course, you can do a due diligence on the paperwork to make sure there is nothing crazy in the contract. You can take a look at the developer to see if there is no spike in lawsuits, okay, because every large developer is going to have a certain number of lawsuits. So you're going to take a look to see if there is no increase of financial issues, no increase of lawsuits. These are some of the things that you can look at. But unfortunately, you can never have a guarantee that they are going to deliver that unit to you. So in our experience, what is going to protect you the most is going to be paying as little as possible. Paying as little as possible when you enter into this journey, meaning when you sign the contract with the developer, try to pay as little as possible. And the same thing, the monthly payments at least until the unit is ready, right? And then once the unit is ready, you typically need to pay off the balance to get access to the apartment, to the finished apartment, right? But what we see very often is going to be, particularly, clients who have available, cash at hand. They say, well, they are going to give me this amazing 20% discount and I'm going to prepay the unit, right? And then we just bring it to their attention that they are basically assuming a risk of non-delivery, even if the developer has a steady history. If you think about nowadays, right, like there is always a chance of a global war, of some profound change in the economy because of AI. You can never really tell how things are going to be 2 or 3 years down the line. So in our opinion, you're going to be better off by avoiding the loss of your shirt than getting a 10 to 15, sometimes even 20% discount, right? But that's our perspective. We are more conservative when it comes to our clients' monies, right? So we don't want to tell you, yes, 20% is such a great amount. Jump right in and go prepay this thing. No, we never tell them. We say, listen, maybe we can negotiate instead of a 20%, you're still going to get a 10% price break. But instead of prepaying the unit, you're going to pay just like 30% to enter into the contract and maybe an additional 20% over the course of construction. And then guess what? You're going to pay the remaining 50%, 40%, or 30% once the apartment is ready, right? And then you need to pay off the balance to receive a possession and legal title to the unit. Okay, so I hope that that helps. Let's see what else we have. All right, STJ, I am an American citizen traveling to Brazil in January. I have my e-visa. Do I need anything else? STJ, it depends from which perspective, right? If it is just to enter Brazil, you're good. Okay, now if you're going to apply for something more long-term, then yes, you need many other things. If you're going to apply for in Brazil for something like the digital nomad, or retirement, or if you want to buy properties in Brazil, then there is a bunch of things you can do ahead of time. So let us know, are you just talking about a visit? If it is just a visit, STJ, all you need is the e-visa, all right? All you need is the e-visa. Of course, there is always additional stuff you may want to consider, like travel insurance. Whenever I travel internationally, I never travel without travel insurance. I always buy travel insurance because you never know. And, I probably use it like one out of every 5 trips. I'm going to actually, pursue a claim for some missed connection or some issue that happened during the trip. So, yes, travel insurance, I think it's typically, at least for me, a no-brainer. But, if you're just visiting Brazil, I guess that's all you need, right? Like, I mean, the e-visa, travel insurance, and then naturally, depending on your planning for the country, then yes, you're gonna need more things. So let us know, is it just for, for fun, business, or are you planning to stay for a long term? General Principal, remember all to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for the reminder, General Principal. Yes, if you're here with us, if you're enjoying the live stream, if you're getting helpful information from this meeting, go ahead and click that like button. That's going to help our business. That's going to help myself. And that's also going to help other people just like you to find this content. Because as you probably know, the more likes, the more YouTube is going to share this content whenever people are looking for the topics we are discussing here today. Bonidio, can you explain better the difference between temporary and permanent residency for retirement visa? Yes, Ronnie. So whenever you secure the retirement visa, for the first time, right? Like this is going to be on a temporary basis, okay? And it's not going to matter if you are applying abroad. If you apply abroad, you are applying for a retirement visa. If you're flying into Brazil and physically from Brazil, you are applying for the retirement track, you never get a retirement visa. You're going to get a retirement residency, right? So the distinction between residency and visa is pretty much like that. Applied abroad, you get a visa. Applied in Brazil, you get a residency, okay? And whenever you're starting this journey, you always get a temporary card, right? So your resident card after the visa or after applying for residency in Brazil, you're going to get this card, and the card is going to say it is good for either 1 year or 2 years, right? So this is temporary. Temporary means there is a definite a date by which your residency is going to expire, okay? That's the temporary nature. And the temporary nature is not bad, always bad, because, again, if you are someone concerned with taxation effects of your stay in Brazil, the temporary stay, the temporary card, typically has no effect on your taxation obligations, okay? Notice, I'm not saying you're not going to be taxed. I'm just saying it has no effects, because if you stay in Brazil for over 183 days, guess what? Even if your card is temporary, yes, you're going to become a tax resident, okay? So the temporary nature of your residency, it is, pretty good when you don't want to become a tax resident, okay? On the other hand, once you move away, let's say you've been in Brazil for 2 years under the retirement residency, right? And then you need to renew because you just got it for 2 years. When you renew, you have typically two options. One option is going to be to renew for an additional couple of years. And because it's a definite period of time, it's going to be temporary. You can renew, and you're not going to be taxed, or in theory, right? Like as long as you don't trigger in some different ways, you're not going to be taxed unless you're exceeding 183 days per year, right? Now, let's say if after those 2 years under the retirement residency, you renew, you upgrade, you say, listen, I really liked Brazil. Now, instead of renewing on a 2-year basis, I want to actually renew as a permanent residency, right? So as soon as you get the permanent residency, as soon as the card is issued legally, from a legal perspective, you are becoming a tax resident on the spot. Even if you've been in Brazil for, I don't know, just like 1 day in the last 12 months, right? You're going to become a tax resident on the spot, because according to language, right, like to the regulations of the Brazilian Revenue Service, once you acquire a residency of a permanent nature, you're going to become a tax resident on the spot. All right? Let me know if that helps, Ronnie. Okay, so yes, you typically start under temporary, and then down the line, you can either keep under a temporary nature, or then you can migrate to this permanent nature. All right. Active. As a follow-up, I am retiring, plan 280 days in Brazil. I'm planning to retire. I am retiring, plan 280 days in Brazil. I'm married to a Brazilian citizen who own an apartment in Brazil. I was advised to apply for a 2-year temporary visa. Does this change anything? That would be too specific. I wouldn't be able to ask this question. That would be a classic example of legal consultation. I strongly recommend you to schedule a consultation to go over your specifics and see how all of those things they connect together, right? Because they do have interconnections, particularly if you are married to a Brazilian. Sometimes, how you send the money, and typically, and it's understandable, right? Like people, they are not legal experts or tax experts. They do all types of crazy things. Like they send the money among the spouses, the Brazilian spouse who should not have a regular bank account in Brazil. They keep a regular bank account and they think it is just fine, right? So we see all types of things that should not be done. And in your case, I strongly recommend a consultation, right? Because a consultation is going to help you understand better the different pathways and the different, interconnections between a Brazilian spouse, your immigration status, and taxation effects as well. And I'm not trying to sell a paid consultation. Whenever I provide a paid consultation, this paid consultation does not cover our costs. So whenever someone has a consultation, it's to their benefit, not to ours. Of course, once you hire our service and then you work with our firm, that's when we actually make money. But just highlighting, right? Like I'm not here to sell consultations. I'm recommending consultations here because I do believe the cost benefit is extremely favorable to our clients. Just League. It is the best service explanation I ever heard from Brazil. Thank you so much for your time and effort. Thank you so much for your kind words, Justice League. I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us. Justice League, I have a question. I am from a country where there is no Brazilian embassy, and I definitely need to obtain a visa to enter Brazil. My question is, I have a decent capital. Can I form the company away? Justice League, so I assume you're talking about forming the entity in Brazil and securing residency through investment in a company. Yes, this is possible. Okay, and we actually have that in the works as we speak with other clients, particularly the real estate, right? Like particularly when people are looking for sure things, it's never 100% certain, but the real estate typically brings a higher certainty. And that's when people are typically going to handle things from abroad, right? So they are going to invest from abroad. And what we do is like after the investment has been completed, we can actually apply for this investor visa in Brazil, right, through the Brazilian immigration system. We're not talking about the consulate. We get this application approved, and then this application approval is sent, like the whole file is sent to a consulate or embassy abroad. Okay, now even if you don't have like a Brazilian consulate or embassy in your country, I'm 100% sure that there is some embassy in charge of your jurisdiction. Okay, because yes, naturally Brazil doesn't have a presence in 200 plus countries. It does have on most of them though, right? But not every single one. And when that happens, it just means that one embassy, for instance, from a close by country is going to be actually in charge of your country. I'm going to give an example. If I'm not mistaken, right? If I'm not mistaken, there is no Brazilian consular body in Afghanistan. If I'm not mistaken, right? I'm just talking from memory here. I believe the one in Tehran, Iran, is actually in charge. The embassy in Tehran is actually in charge of Afghanistan, right? So that's just an example. And same advice here, Justice League. If that's in your plans, I think you could schedule a consultation because then we can discuss about the pros and cons of each track, and also see if you are a good match again for opening a business in Brazil. All right, so it looks like our time today is over. I want to say thank you for your participation. Very interesting topics as usual. I love when you guys bring new topics so we can discuss about new stuff. Thank you for showing up. Our next live stream is going to be on Wednesday, all right? So on Wednesday, if you take a look at our live stream area in our YouTube channel, you're going to see the Wednesday live stream already scheduled. If you just click on Notify Me, you're going to be notified when we are starting the live stream, so you're not going to forget. Once again, thank you for your participation and wishing you all a blessed rest of your day.